You apply for the apartment. The landlord pulls your application across the desk. Credit score, 584. Monthly income, $3,200. Savings on hand, $1,100. He looks at it for a moment, then he slides it back. We require a minimum credit score of 620 and 2 months security deposit up front. You can't afford that, so you don't get the apartment. Meanwhile, across the same city, someone is sitting in a meeting at a commercial bank. Net worth, $4.2 million. Rental portfolio, 23 units. The banker is not reviewing their application. The banker is asking for their business. The apartment you couldn't get? That person owns 17 of them. This is how the housing system works. From the person who gets rejected to the person who does the rejecting. This is your life at every level of housing wealth. At the bottom of the housing system, the game is almost entirely rigged against you. Your credit score is below 500. Maybe you missed some bills during a rough year. Maybe you never had credit at all, which the system treats the same as bad credit. Either way, a number has been assigned to your name, and that number has decided what you're worth before you walk in the door. You apply for apartments. Most of your applications don't even get reviewed. The screening software filters you out automatically. Your score crosses a threshold. You're gone. The landlords who will talk to you are a different category. They accept low credit scores, which means they don't have to, which means their properties are the ones no one else wanted. You move in. The radiator doesn't work. You call about it. They say they'll send someone. 3 weeks pass. You learn at this level that maintenance requests are suggestions. The landlord knows you have nowhere else to go. That knowledge, that single fact, changes everything about how they deal with you. In some cases, you pay rent weekly, not monthly, because the landlord knows you can't hold that amount together for 30 days. You're not, at this level, a tenant. You're not a customer. You are a source of cash flow they're willing to house in exchange for. And every month you pay. And every month, nothing builds. No equity, no credit improvement, no asset, no ladder. Just rent. You've been working. You've saved a little. Not much, but something. Your credit has crept upward. You apply for a real apartment this time. One with a proper lobby, a mailbox that locks, a building that looks maintained. This time, they call you back. But before they say yes, they tell you the conditions. 2 months security deposit on a $950 a month apartment. That's $1,900 before you've spent one night there. Plus first month's rent. That's $2,850 to move in. You have $5,200 saved. After the deposit, you have $2,350 left. That's it. Your entire financial cushion, gone before you've unpacked a single box. The landlord knows this, not because he checked your savings account, but because he's done this before, with people exactly like you. He knows you'll pay on time, because you can't afford not to. Here's what changes at this level. You start to see the deposit for what it is. The security deposit is not for the landlord's security. It is a financial test. It's designed to see whether you can handle being bled up front. If you can't, you don't belong in the building. If you can, congratulations. You've just given him an interest-free loan for as long as you live there. The system isn't hiding this from you. You just weren't told to look. Now you're what the housing system considers a normal tenant. Credit score in the 600s and 40s, a few thousand in the bank as a buffer. Consistent income at the same employer. You get approved for apartments without a fight. Standard security deposit. Standard terms. No double payment. This feels like progress. And it is. But there's something you haven't noticed yet. You are still paying someone else's mortgage. Every rent payment you make is building equity for another person. The landlord is using your money to own an asset. You are not. At this level, you start to see the math. You're paying $1,400 a month. That's $16,800 a year. Over 5 years, that's $84,000. Gone. Every cent of it. No ownership. No return. No asset. Just receipts. The landlord, in the same 5 years, has used your payments to pay down a mortgage. Their net worth grew. Yours didn't. You're not being scammed. No one is lying to you. But you are, at this level, an instrument of someone else's wealth building. And the most uncomfortable part? You chose it because there was nothing else available to you. Something shifts at this level. Your credit score crosses 720. You have something close to 6 figures in the bank. You've been at the same job for a few years. Landlords treat you differently now. You notice it in small things. The application process is faster. Calls get returned sooner. When you mention something about the unit, they discuss it instead of dismissing it. But something else is happening at this level. Something more important. You start to look at properties differently. Not as a renter, as a buyer. With $80,000 to $100,000 in savings and a strong credit score, a first mortgage becomes a real possibility. Not easy, not cheap, but possible. And the calculation starts to change. A $300,000 home with 20% down is $60,000 out of pocket. Monthly mortgage payment at current rates, roughly $1,300. You're currently paying $1,500 in rent. The difference is $200 a month. But here's what else is different. Every mortgage payment builds equity. Every rent payment doesn't. The threshold isn't a specific number. It's a decision. The people who cross it enter a completely different side of the housing system. The people who don't keep building someone else's equity instead of their own. Both choices are happening right now. In the same city, in the same buildings. The difference is almost invisible from the outside. You bought one property, your primary residence. The feeling is different than you expected. Not just pride, something more structural. You are no longer subject to rent increases. No one can tell you to leave. No one can decline to renew your lease. No maintenance request can be ignored without affecting their asset, which is now your asset. And then you notice something about the banking system. Now that you own property, banks talk to you differently. They offer you home equity lines of credit. They pre-approve you for refinancing. They send letters with offers. You went from being someone banks screened out to being someone banks pursue because you have collateral, an asset they can hold. And the system is built from the ground up to serve people who have things to hold. You are not a landlord yet. You are one property in. But the lens through which you see housing has permanently changed. You are starting to see the system from the inside. This is where the video changes. Until now, you've been the tenant. At level 6, you become the landlord. You've bought a second property, a rental, maybe a small condo, maybe a duplex. You now set the terms. You decide the security deposit. You run the credit check. You decide who lives in your building. And here's what you realize almost immediately. The things you hated as a tenant, you understand them now. The credit score requirement, the double deposit, the strict lease terms, the slow maintenance response. You don't see them as malicious anymore. You see them as protection. You understand the tenant who seemed financially desperate. You didn't reject them because you have no compassion. You rejected them because you need your mortgage paid every month. And desperation is a risk you're now carrying. This is the shift nobody talks about. When you cross from tenant to landlord, the system doesn't change. Your position in it does. And the person standing where you used to stand? They're looking at you the same way you once looked at the person above you, wondering how long until they get there too. At this level, the game is no longer about individual units. It's about cash flow, cap rates, appreciation curves, vacancy percentages. You're not screening tenants yourself anymore. You have someone for that. The bank relationships at this level are a completely different product. You're not applying for personal mortgages. You're discussing commercial real estate loans, portfolio financing, business lines of credit. The same bank that once reviewed your rental history is now reviewing your portfolio returns. And then there's the part that most tenants never see. Depreciation deductions, 1,031 exchanges, which let you defer capital gains taxes indefinitely. LLC structures for liability protection. The government, at this level, actively incentivizes property accumulation in ways it does not incentivize renting. The tenant who couldn't afford the security deposit in level 1 is, in part, paying taxes that fund infrastructure that makes your properties more valuable. That sentence is uncomfortable, but it's how the system is built. Not because anyone designed it to be cruel, but because no one at the top had any reason to redesign it. At this level, you don't rent. You don't just own. You are part of the supply. The decisions you make, which neighborhoods to invest in, which properties to buy, which developments to back, shape the rental market in your area. Banks contact you for business. Real estate brokers send you off-market listings, properties that never reach public listings at all. You have legal teams, accountants, property managers, the housing system that once rejected your application. You are now part of its infrastructure, the screening software that filtered you out. It's probably running on a platform owned by a company that investors at this level helped fund. The circle closes at the top. It always does. The same housing market, the same cities, the same buildings. But the experience at the bottom and the experience at the top are so different they might as well be separate systems entirely. At the bottom, the system uses you. At the top, the system serves you. And the distance between those two positions is not as far as it looks from level 1. It's one credit score decision, one saved deposit, one mortgage application, one rental property. The wall feels permanent from the outside. It isn't. But no one on the other side will tell you that. Because why would they? Subscribe, and we'll keep telling you.